Hello and welcome to Belonging Songs. It's your weekly podcast that brings you a brand new original song each week, then talks about the theme of that song and the processes that went into writing and recording it. Sometimes the revisions we make along the way. I am your host, Wade Dana. With me today in the Squadcast realm, Squid Jenkins, a.k.a. Patrick Crane.
I'll keep showing up if you do.
And Alex P.K. Bradley Maurer.
Hey.
Those are the names these guys have written on the screens. I don't know what they mean. IMBS at belongingsongs.com, which is where you can get a hold of us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns.
I want to see the concerns emails. So I'm worried about you guys.
Worried about you guys. You guys aren't doing
I'm
great.
just checking in, see how things are
I noticed
going.
the show went off the rails a little bit. Are you guys doing all right?
This should be a good intro because we've just spent a half an hour talking to each other. So when I'm like, hey, what you guys been up to? We've already spent all that. Yeah. So I'm hoping to get through this. I've been sick the past few days and have hardly slept over the past 2 nights. So I kind of feel like a zombie. And I'm just going to cross our fingers and hope this goes well.
You look great.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, thank you.
You are a shining beacon on the hill.
Yeah.
I spent the 20 minutes I had to prepare for this after rolling out of bed, setting up my lighting, so I would look good for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a ring light? You look like you got a ring light. Yeah, you look like a celebrity.
I turn off the lights behind me so it's not too bright.
It's good depth of field, though.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Techie.
You kind of look like you're in a fake studio, like, background. You green screened in a studio.
This is green. Well, I set a green screen up in the room over next to the studio. Yeah, so today we are going to listen to a song by me, finally. I've had
some words.
3 songs. I finally got some words. Every episode this season so far, I've mentioned I'm having a really hard time writing lyrics, and that has remained constant throughout this season so far, and I've had 3 songs where the music's been pretty much done for the past couple months here. No words. Finally got some, and since it's been scarce, kind of using what I get at this point.
I got bad news. More than words has already been written.
So if they're not great, you can tell me. But I might need your help to fix them. So.
Well, we almost were there, right? We were almost to the point where we were
I did
like,
reach out. I'm like, do you want me to try? And Wade was like, nope, no words is better than Patrick's.
No, that's not true. I was getting prepared to send you guys these songs and just say,
go to
do
town.
what you can, because I got nothing.
Do your best. Forget the rest. What's the tip of the day?
Claw hammer.
Claw hammer.
Since I recorded vocals on this, I have recorded another song, music, so I still have 3 songs, no words.
Oh.
So at least I'm still working on stuff.
Do you feel like once this song was sort of out of the way, did it open up that lyrical spark again, or did you just shut it back down?
I was hoping that would be the case, but it doesn't seem to have worked. I did start like a daily Word document where I'm just trying to write anything, whether it's good or bad, just to get stuff flowing. And that's kind of how this one came about. It was actually, a couple ideas from a couple different days that I melded together.
Do you
Once an idea started to form.
I don't remember if we've talked about this in previous episodes, but do you have like a notebook in your car or anything like that for if an idea strikes you?
I don't. I'll put stuff in my phone if I...
Yeah, I guess that's the modern approach.
No lightning has struck recently.
I have a little steno pad in my console that I'll jot down ideas because I forget I have a phone.
Mm-hmm. I don't trust it.
Like, oh, that phone, that's capable of taking notes with an app called Notes.
Notes.
Yep.
I write
Truck
everything down.
notes.
When you do your lyrics for real, Wade, do you just type them? You always typing? Yeah.
See, I always handwrite. I'm with Brad.
100%. Yeah.
There's something, it's even the way I study too, where there's something about pen to paper that my brain just engages a little more with.
Same with me.
But when I'm doing like academic writing, obviously I just type, but
yeah, I can write
it feels
sweet
different
letter
somehow. Any other tips for our listeners who maybe have been stuck with lyrics for a time? Brad, you have any strategies?
No, I would like them to send us tips.
Right?
We're the ones who need them.
Exactly.
I always have the same struggle.
My struggle is usually if I'm trying to write lyrics to something, I'll write down stuff and I'll be like, oh, this is garbage, and throw it in the trash and never see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there was good stuff there.
I was telling Wade that it's always going to be trash when you're writing it. You have to give it like a 3-day test.
Yeah.
You have to come back to it, like, don't look at it, come back to it 3 days later, and then you'll be like, oh. And then you might be able to take it somewhere.
You'd think I would have learned my lesson by now with, like, getting a couple songs out of the way. Like, well, little nugget here can really spark a whole thing. But nope, I still throw whole sheets of lyrics in the trash.
Yeah, or even just the concept. Like, if the words aren't right, the concept can be okay, and then you can
And I saw an old interview with Eminem with maybe, I don't know if it was Anderson Cooper, it was somebody like that. Eminem pulls out this box, a literal box in the studio, and he just has pages of single sentences, maybe a couple verses, or just ideas that aren't lyrics. And he's like, well, I'll use that, make a song about it. And I'm thinking, fuck you, Eminem. Must be nice.
Yeah.
My next strategy was just going to be to write a ridiculous song with silly lyrics, because that's usually a lot easier. Yeah, you know, the constraints are off. I'm just going to be silly, can make the rhymes as cheeky as you want, and just have fun with it. So, and I might still do that. Actually, the song I recorded yesterday, I was working on a song, and I thought that was going to kind of be it, but then as I was working on it, I was like, well, I kind of like this, actually.
Stay tuned, listeners, for the White Spydrz Christmas song this year, because that's exactly what I did. It was over the holiday break. I was sitting at my table with a cup of coffee and just started writing a metal Christmas song, and I was laughing to myself at how stupid and ridiculous it was that I had to send these two the lyrics, and then Wade was like, we need to record this.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that. That's going to be for this year's Christmas episode for sure. Okay, so this song is called, what is it called, Brad? I forgot. Slow We Rise.
Slowly Rise.
Yeah. Slow
Unless
We
you put
Rise.
the 3 dots in the front.
We Rise.
Yeah. Or if the song is called Slow We Rise. If there's a pause in the front. If you put the comma first.
Well, there's no comma, but...
Yet. That's my first comment on the song.
Right. This has been Comma Comments by Belonging Songs.
Welcome to Comic-Con, our 4-day celebration of commas.
Of the comma.
Yeah, I think we should listen to this before we get a half an hour into this episode. And the listeners turned it off. So like I said, this song was originally recorded December 30th, I think, was when I did the demo. And all the musical arrangement that you'll hear here was completely done and just sat there for a while with no words. So
when did you write the music for this bad boy? Did you say? Just then? I missed that?
I think December 30th, I think was this. So I've been really wanting you guys to listen to it, and now I'm excited that you can. So let's do this. You guys good?
Yeah. Here we go.
There was nothing, now there's light, and I'm aware of its glow. Slowly rise, along we go. Swirling shapes form into sight. It's overwhelming to behold. We plant our seeds, and some we don't know. like to be known. Don't think that you are all alone. So many others feel alone. Don't let your plot run dry, but don't get buried in it. You thought your life was fine, now it's indefinite. Is that why the pine trees grow to bury our bones? Like what defines us isn't often what we'd like to be known for. Don't think you are all alone. So many others feel alone too. That's just part of our life. We all have to struggle sometimes. That's why the pine trees grow to bury our bones. Like what defines us isn't often what we'd like to be known for. Don't think you are all alone. So many others feel alone too. That's just part of our life. We all have to struggle sometimes.
Okay, we've all listened. Who wants to start with their thoughts? All right.
I nominate Patrick because we all know I take time to digest shit. So I have notes.
I'm always thrown under the goddamn bus. I have a lot of notes, actually. First note, fucking woo. I like this song a lot.
Okay.
So let's get the tension out of the air. No, I think it's
I immediately thought of a John Woo movie.
okay. You can do that. So the song comes in, and the little intro riff, I'm thinking Rainbow Connection, which is not an insult because I fucking love Rainbow Connection, but something about that progression just remind me of that. So you're settling in to this almost folky expectation. And I love again the shuffle drums, sort of a jazz set kind of sound with that guitar. I think is incredibly effective and really, really appeals to my ear. I think it just works for the story you're telling. I don't know if I understand completely what the song's about yet, but the feeling I get when I'm listening to particularly the softer, slower parts is this feeling of we influence people, whether we recognize it or not, that everyone has struggles, but you're always there for somebody to help them along the way. Whether or not you know it, someone might rely on you. And maybe I'm just internalizing kind of my experiences in life, but I really get this whole idea of mentorship and the thing that I think is probably intentional, just knowing how you write songs, is that you start from this really slow, calm, and then as the characters in the song grow, the melody grows, the power grows, the sound gets louder. And I think that's like a Wade Dana trademark, is to kind of mesh those two, the theme and the composition of the song. So I think you did that really, really successfully. I think the song, as it's arranged and mixed right now, is best in the subdued parts. I think it's phenomenal in the subdued parts, and I wouldn't recommend changing much, maybe some final mixing with those. I think the choruses aren't quite there yet. In fact, I was trying to decide, I'm going to have to listen to this 5 or 6 more times, which I'll probably do this week, to decide if I want those choruses to be bigger or maybe softer and maybe more complex. I don't know what I want there, but there's something that's not quite finished with the choruses. I actually think the lyrics are good. I don't know what you're worried about here, but I think they're good. The only part that I struggled with is the solo with that really fuzzy feedback. It didn't mesh with the rest of the song to me, but I also know how you write songs, and it probably has a lot of intent. But I almost heard, getting ready for that solo, something syncopated or maybe arpeggiated, like some single notes that didn't flow together necessarily to harken back to that sort of jazz sound that you hear with the quieter verse parts of the song. But again, this is just first listen, first blush, what my ear was expecting, and that's not always the best things. But I think that might be interested to hear some more syncopated type guitar work, guitar and drum work for that heavily fed back part. I think that's really it. Yeah, this has got the bones of another phenomenal Wade song. I really like where this is going. I'll yield my time to the gentleman.
Wow, that's been said a lot lately.
It definitely has a folk song feel to it, which I didn't really intend, and I think that's mostly because of the lyrics. And since they came afterwards, like I wasn't viewing this really as a folk song before, but then it really kind of took shape like that as it came along. The lyrics, I guess I'll wait to hear from Brad to explain that whole thing. So yeah, Brad, what do you got?
I have very similar. First started off, I love this song. I think it's a great song. I love the build and how it ties into the theme of the song. You know, there's a slow rise throughout the song that is alluded to lyrically. I think I know what it's kind of about lyrically, which is, I would say, a different space for you to draw from because it feels positive. And I like that. Musically, I would agree with Patrick. The solo caught me off guard a little bit. I was having the same struggle in my mind, Patrick, about the last 2 choruses, if they should get big or if they should stay where they're at and again, like, yeah, get more complex. Like I like my vision of it would be like, I really love all of those background instruments in the verses, and then like those, they're kind of all over the place, and then have them sort of come together for the choruses to make them a little bit more structured, but not necessarily raise, you know, have all of these other things that come in to make it like this intense chorus.
Yeah. I sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted I had a thought. So one of the things that, Brad, I'm always commenting on with your music is I want your vocals to really power through and come up. And then Wade, yeah, he has a writing style where he tends to have these big differentiated components in his songs. And sometimes I really like when my ear hears something different than what you guys typically produce. So Brad, when you really nail it on a vocal, or when Wade keeps things really toned down, and not that having a distinct style is a bad thing. In fact, it reminds me why I love your music so much, both of you. But I love when I hear something different, and that's what Trailblazing, I think probably why I loved it so much, is because it was so different and so consciously reined in. And this song has that same kind of, I don't know how to describe it other than excitement. I get really excited when you hear an artist that does something different and they do it well, and that's where this is heading. So I will yield my time back to the gentleman.
Yeah, and I don't like not like what the chorus did. Like, it's a really cool part. The only part with it that I struggled, I think, was going back into the third chorus, because it was kind of on its own. You know, it was not a curveball, just a sort of diversion from the end of the song, which could be very well what you were going for, and probably after, like Patrick alluded to, like a couple more listens, I would probably be a lot more comfortable with it, just because I'll know it's coming, and then I'll appreciate the parts leading into and coming out of it better.
What do you mean when you say, so like the last chorus threw you for a loop after that solo part?
It just how it came back. It's kind of like, you know, I got flipped over and then I got flipped back over to the right side, you know?
Okay.
It didn't necessarily take me out of the song because I really liked the part. It was cool breakdown. I just expected it to go somewhere completely different, you know? And I don't think that's right or wrong or good or bad. It's just like Patrick said, it's what
you both know
I expected.
That's what I like to do in songwriting.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah. This song is an illustration of, like I said, your style. I don't think any of our listeners are under the illusion that a Wade song is never going to have verse, chorus. Chorus. There's going to be.
Wasn't meant to be sober and pretty the whole time. But I think that, like, I guess I expected that to go on a little bit longer and then come back to the song. But
Brad, you mentioned, you alluded to the theme of the song. You kind of touched on it, like you thought you had a grasp on what it was, but you didn't explain what you thought it was.
What I think it is it's sort of a return to normalcy, I guess, is kind of how I feel. Like, it's very reflective of the time period that we're living in and how there's an end in sight to the madness. And I think it's sort of bringing it back to the normal part of it, where it's like, okay, is this why pine trees grow? Because pine trees are great and they're a big part of why the world is what it is, right? They produce oxygen and all of it with trees, but do they help?
Don't give me no biology lessons,
they
scientist.
They help get rid of. Is that what happens, Patrick?
I don't know. I'd have to look up.
I have no idea. I literally have no idea what trees
You're
do.
supposed to keep one in your living room. I know that.
A pine tree?
Only if it has a pickle on it.
Only during Christmas time.
Okay. You're right.
You're also supposed to keep one from your review mirror.
But I see it as not necessarily that particular circumstance, just general circumstances. Just like, you know, we have thoughts and it's healing. You know, it's like a healing song. Like you're better and you're looking back and seeing, why do bad things happen? Because, you know, bad things have to happen for good things to happen.
Prepare to be told we are both wrong.
Oh, yeah.
No, this song is for me, and I will admit that since I've been having such a struggle, like I said, I'm like kind of taking what I get at this point. So I don't know if I'm even ascribing meaning after the fact, but the whole chorus part about like, okay, the pine tree, you know, is that what they're meant for? Just to be turned into pine boxes to bury us? Meaning we're all not always serving the purpose we feel we are meant to. So a pine tree does, like Brad said, it's like this beautiful natural thing, provides oxygen, is part of nature, but then we also turn it into
allegedly
coffins to bury us. The whole song for me was basically feeling like we're not always serving our purpose, that we feel like we're meant to be, and then recognizing that others feel the same way. And I know that I do things like this a lot, where I say, like, you know, you're not alone, but then to make you feel better in the chorus, I'm like, other people are also feel shitty too. So it's like a backhanded way of saying, like, it's cool, because it's not. And I knew it was going to be a little vague as far as the lyrics go.
I think that's good, though. I think it's a pretty open song, because there's a lot of things that all of these words, when they're strung together, could mean.
We don't always need Tom Waits murder ballads that tell us an entire novel.
Well, right. And the whole beginning part, which is the very slow, it's almost like a waking up, or like originally when I started writing this, it was almost like this very ethereal, planets forming type of creation story. But then it got turned into more like a coming of age, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You're planting seeds that are going to be your future, and you don't always know what they're going to turn into. and you slowly build into the person that you're going to become, and there's struggles along the way, and everybody goes through that. So that's kind of what that whole beginning is about.
I expected that line to be, and some we don't sow,
Yeah.
but I like no.
Did you know that when the planets formed, Lord Xenu came to Earth and buried Thetans in volcanoes?
Well, yeah.
And,
I
and
knew
then
that.
there was
But you,
Tom Cruise.
well, you have to pay a certain amount of money to find that out.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah, so there's that song.
I think it's great. But no,
We have
I guess
stickers.
because we didn't we didn't give you a whole lot to go on there. Are you doing anything with it, or do you have a plan to do something, or are you going to play with it, or is it done?
It's not mixed in any way. Like there's 0% mixing on it other than throwing faders up and panning stuff around.
Is that all that you do? Is there's a knob that's like 0% to 100% mixing and you just
Yep.
turn it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that seems easy.
I do want to talk about that solo part
When
because
I try it, doesn't
you
work.
guys both touched on that and having it throw you for a loop, and which is fine, and I'm always fine with that. Always.
Uh-huh.
I don't expect people to always just be like, "Oh, your songs are easy listens." But for me,
We
that's
need to
like,
write some easy listening songs.
yeah, to play in barbershops.
Mm-hmm.
So the first chorus comes in, and then remember the other day I sent you guys a message saying I think I might have wrote a Joe Cocker song. At the end of that chorus, it was like we all have to struggle sometimes. Really reminds me of Joe Cocker for some reason. And then there's that break, and then that solo part comes in, and I just feel like it kind of creeps up, and those are the struggles coming after you, you know,
That's
in that
the
part.
obstacle, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So then you come back to that chorus, Brad, like you said, and you've kind of overcome
Yeah.
that.
I'm good with that. Like I said, it's always that way with your songs. On the first listen, when you do that, it's like, ooh, that's not what I would have done. But it doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't.
And it's
fit
funny because
together.
that transition from that part back into the third chorus, I thought might be something that you, Brad, were going to comment on, like, oh, that worked really well. Because
Actually, no, it did
flow back in.
It did. I was waiting for it not to. I more struggled, and you're right. I don't know if I said that correctly before. The first part is what kind of threw me off a little bit, and I was waiting for it to build. Well, all I was saying before is I just didn't expect it to go back, but the way it came back was actually really well done. Like I did like that. I forgot to
I'd
comment
agree
on
with
that.
I originally didn't have the lead guitar in that part. I just had the dun 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 and the crash cymbal. And there's like a solo guitar part that I added for the second part of that.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
which
then
one
that
works
keeps
better.
going
but
into the chorus a little bit. There's like some
it turns
more.
into almost like a slide guitar element.
Yeah.
It's not a slide, but it's me. I think I might actually add slide guitar.
Yeah,
To
I think
mirror
that would do some justice for that part.
And I did try and do a version of the first chorus, like softer, and just didn't like it. I mean, I could try that again. It would make most sense for the first chorus to be not as elevated as the other one. Patrick, looks like you're going to say something.
I was just going to say, it's your song, boo. If you like it how it is, keep it that way.
But you both mentioned like maybe those were a bit too much, like too elevated. As far as bringing in, I know you both mentioned like elements from the beginning. The arrangement is so sparse there. All those little extra things are, I mean, I don't know how I would bring those into the chorus, which is like a full guitar and everything where you would actually notice them. It seems like they might just
Get
get
lost.
in the way.
So I
Yeah.
think that was my comment, was to maybe make the choruses more sparse than so filled in.
Maybe the first one.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I was thinking while I was listening is at the end of the song, maybe the second and third, mostly the third chorus, the drums are still doing like the tom thing. I want like some more punchy hits, like some driving through that is what I wanted, but it's good either way. I just was kind of
They're
like
crazy. The drums are
yeah, I
kind
mean,
of
but
crazy.
that's what I mean, but they're moving, a lot.
Yeah. I have some notes on that if we want to get technical.
Let's do that.
So the drums right there, the drums are interesting on this song. Yeah, it's that jazz kit that I used on Hey Days. And Patrick, you said you recognize that right away. In that part you were just talking about, Brad, there's a second part of the chorus where it kicks up, the drums do. I added a second drum track, and I went and bought the cajon, whatever. I don't know.
Cojones?
Yeah, from Addictive Drums, because I wanted an extra element. Like it wasn't hitting hard enough, and it was just like a little too crazy, and I need something to anchor it down.
Washboard.
So
Make it a
I went
Zydeco
and
song.
I went and bought that extra kit piece, which is like a percussive thing to add underneath that, and it helped to really anchor it down, which I thought was cool. And then I also recorded some of the drum kit here behind me, just the kick drum during that part going into the solo where it just drops down to just the kick. I actually set up a microphone and played the kick drum for that. So that was fun on the drums. So there's like 3 different versions of drums going on. Sorry,
I like that. I think the only thing I was looking for, I think I just kind of went back and listened to it real quick, is the just more snare hits as you sing your line, just like a and then you do the tom stuff and then a just to build that a little bit more. That's what I hear in my head. Whether or not you choose to do anything with that is up to you, but that's just for that last one, just to sort of give it a little more punch than the one prior. That's my only idea.
Interesting thing I did on recording the guitars for this is I set up a mid-side mic arrangement with 2 microphones.
Hey, you were telling me about this. This sounds cool.
Basically, I set up an SM57 dynamic microphone straight on the side of the speaker cone like I would normally do to record a guitar. But then I also took a ribbon microphone and put it perpendicular. And ribbon microphones are bidirectional, so they pick up from both ways. So by having the one microphone straight on and the other one perpendicular, recording the stereo field, so left and right from the front of the amplifier, when you mix them together, you get like this bigger sound, almost like a stereo sound. So that's something I don't normally do, and I just wanted to experiment with, and I like it. So the other microphone was a Cascade Fathead ribbon microphone.
So that's just a big sticker you put on the wall, right? Of a microphone.
Okay.
A Bo Jackson.
Yeah, just a big.
And normally you would set those up like so the capsules are aligned. And I did that and didn't like the sound at first. And then I moved the ribbon microphone back about 4 or 5 feet and ended up liking that a lot better.
Damn.
We use meters here, son. When we're talking about making oxygen from pine trees, we switch to meters.
And on this song, I also recorded through my old Soundcraft board, which is cool. It gives it a kind of vintage sound, though I sort of did it wrong, and it was still going through my audio interface preamps, but I have since learned how to bypass those and just use the board preamp. So I'll talk about that in another song when I actually got it figured out right.
Hey, Wade, I have a question. Yeah. Why is it mixing boards, you can get a pretty decent one for a few grand, but you call it a console and it's $200,000?
Features, I guess. Different features.
I was just Googling around and listening to people on a couple different music threads I read, production threads, because, you know, this podcast got me thinking about that stuff. And it literally is 64-channel mixing board, $6,000, you can get pretty good stuff. You call it a console, it comes with a table, and it costs as much as a house.
Is one of them a Kardashian?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So mixers typically don't have like the built-in preamplifiers.
Mm-hmm.
You would use a mixer to send pre-recorded signal into, and mix it. The console is what you're actually going to use to record, so it has the microphone preamps and stuff like that. Oftentimes they'll have built-in compressors. Yeah.
A couple $100,000 worth of that stuff, it sounds like.
Yeah, in some cases. Let's see. Moving on in the technical realm, I used so the main guitar was my Music Man amplifier. I believe my lead 2 guitar. Used some pig nose for the solo. Oh, that big solo with the feedback, I actually had to get my amp to feedback. So the microphone, I used a different microphone for that. I used an Omni microphone, an EV635, and it was set up like in the middle of the room. And I like got my strap on for my guitar, like Had to
Went after
get
it.
up close to the, turned it way up. I had to wait for Shannon to take a walk because I was like, it's going to get loud. So I was in here jamming with the guitar amp turned up way loud to get it to feedback and stuff. So that was fun. Use my Super Annihilator pedal on that. I used a lot of my new guitar pedal, the Pine Box Siren, ironically. Maybe that's I could call this Pine Tree, a Pine Box. So that's a chorus pedal. It also has some overdrive on it, but I used to use the chorus version. I used some EBO on that beginning part.
I
was
love
wondering.
Ebo.
I was gonna ask you if that was Ebo because I wasn't sure if you just affected something to death on it, but
Very subtle. And I did a lot of I would record a chord, like an open chord, but then I would fade it in right from the beginning of the chord. Like I would chop that piece up to where I wanted it and start a fade right when it starts. So you don't actually hear the attack of me playing the guitar. You just get
coming
that
in. It's
swell.
like a volume swell. Yeah,
Yeah, so I did a lot of subtle things like that.
that's cool.
There's a pad organ in there, which is the Arturia Farfisa. I don't even know. I've never even tried that one
Arturia
before.
Our Pizza.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good one.
If this song were pizza, where would you guys put it?
This is a pizza with a really good dough, really good sauce, good cheese. Needs to be put together.
Yep.
Okay. The vocals
a
I
pizza
recorded
kit.
with my...
Yeah. You can sell those for your band booster.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we need to call our Patreon. Maybe that's our band booster.
The pizza kit. Yeah.
And then the vocals I recorded through my Aventone CV12 microphone through my Soundcraft. At that point, I had figured out how to bypass the preamplifier on my Apogee interface. So that's straight Soundcraft. That's it for getting technical. In this session, I have 21 guitar tracks, 1 bass, my drum track,
Jeez.
2 virtual instruments, which are those pads, and then 2 vocal tracks.
Hang on a cotton
A
picking minute.
polyphonic spree over here.
Let's go back to these 21 guitar tracks.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that includes all the little...
I have a question. Why?
I'm not saying
should
that
start
in
doing
a
this.
derogatory way. I want to know.
Well, there's just different
That's
parts.
just
I
where
would have thought the Belonging Songs arm race to 21 tracks would have been won by Brad or I.
Yeah, but you don't. So you don't. You probably have different. Do you do it where if you have a certain part that doesn't repeat in the song, that's the track, right? So like you just
Right,
have it. Yeah. So
So this is how I typically do it. I will, or this is how I have been doing it lately. When I record my main guitar track, I'll record that all the way through as one track, and then I'll double it. So I'll have 2 guitar tracks that are labeled like my main guitars, and they're typically clean, unless it's like a song that's all distorted. I'll record the whole song with that clean guitar, and then I'll start to layer the different parts. Like, okay, I want my distorted guitar here and here, and I'll put those on their own tracks. And then I want, this is a lead guitar. So like, yeah, there's a lot of different tracks. They're not all filled up.
yeah,
they
and then
might
you have
all
the
have
ambient
like a couple little parts.
and,
Yeah. And I will combine them if I can, if I know that, like, oh, these are going to be in the same spot in the song, mix-wise, like panning-wise, and doing the same thing, I'll combine them. But for the most part, the way it's set up right now is ready to mix. So, yeah, there's 21 different ones. And most of them are pairs,
Yeah.
you know. So when I'm mixing out, I'll group 2 of them together and bust them over to one track type of thing.
So there's
Bust
10 and a half parts.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I
Fucking
need
A.
to mix this.
Yeah. Let's get it
And
mixed.
I think I will, I'll maybe work on the choruses, see what I can do to appease you guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Not us.
There's no background vocals on this at all.
Yeah, that was going
Only
to be a
2
little
main
suggestion
tracks.
for the couple of the parts. I hear them.
I did 8 tracks of background vocals and deleted them during the choruses, and instead replaced them with guitars. I know I said that all the instrumentation was there earlier, but actually there's a lead guitar that is doubling the vocal melody during the choruses, and I added that after I had recorded the vocal melody. And I just liked the way that worked better than background vocals. So I don't know if it still needs background vocals. That might be something I'll still play with.
I heard them, but I don't need them necessarily. I was pretty satisfied with the whole vocal part.
Agreed.
I think it's a great song. I like this song a lot.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this song.
Yeah.
Like I said, those verse parts just resonated really well with me, and I think once it's mixed, it's gonna be a pretty exceptional piece of work.
I concur.
I know, Patrick, you really like that beginning, but I just thought, like, I don't know if I could. It's like I don't know, want to do a whole song that's this slow, and which is why it builds.
Yeah, I didn't recommend that. I think it. Don't put words in my mouth. I think it does need to build. It's just a matter of how much to build it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I like it.
Well, like I said, glad you guys finally got to hear it. And now that I've got some feedback, I will continue to work on it. So next time we visit it, I will have done some tweaks and probably mixed it. So it's time to jump to the future with it. I feel like I'm having a rough time talking and thinking.
I think you're all right. You're selling it well.
You're doing good. It just sounds like you're robo tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like.
Set course. To the future!
Okay, here we go. Welcome back, BSers. We are totally cool here. Everything's fine. Gonna talk about Slow We Rise here. This is a song that I have finished and mixed, and we've been trying to podcast now for the past 3 hours. And this is something I want to get out to all you BSers. Brad was on time and had no issues whatsoever. Patrick is having issues. I had just an insane amount of technical difficulties. Had to go buy a new microphone.
Wade went out into the world, people, impromptu.
So I think it's important to know that people just never turn your things off, never reset them, don't unplug them, don't buy new items.
If you've got a podcast going 2 weeks ago, you better keep recording.
Just leave it running.
Yeah.
We should have let this go.
Yeah.
It's been, what? I don't know when we recorded on this last, but it's been a while.
It's been a comedy of errors today, except not very funny.
Yeah.
It was good.
There's broken things in the studio right now that are a result of my anger.
My interface isn't working with my current computer because my computer finally actually died this morning, so rest in peace.
You still got that one in your in the cart?
Yeah. I have to buy it now. I
got
got
out of the cart.
blues. Well, my old one won't boot, so it's good to go.
Give it the boot. So we're going to talk about Slow We Rise. We were just
we record.
Trying to remember what we talked about on this. So when we left it, I remember you guys saying the choruses, I think, were not quite where you were hoping they could be.
That's what my notes say.
And both of you guys were like, maybe it needs less instead of, more, because the beginning of the song is sparse. It's not sparse, but it's softer, and then a lot more things come in the chorus. And I did actually end up cutting stuff out to try and make it work better, and we can talk about that afterwards. Because it's been so long, I think we should just probably jump in and listen to it, and we'll get your thoughts, and then I can tell you what I did to get it where it is now. And I'm hoping it's done because we're behind schedule a little bit.
We'll be all right.
Cool, yeah.
We'll be all right.
So, you guys got it up?
I do.
Up, ready to roll. Ready to roll. Here we go.
All right.
Like to hear it? Here it go.
There was nothing, now there's light, and I'm aware of its glow. Slowly rise, along we go. Swirling shapes form into sight. It's overwhelming to behold. We plant our seeds, and some we don't know. And slow we rise. Alone we go. Is that why the pine trees grow to bury our bones? Like what defines us isn't often how we'd like to be known. Don't think that you are all alone. So many others feel alone. Don't let your plot run dry, but don't get buried in it. You thought your life was fine, now it's indefinite. Is that why the pine trees grow to bury our bones? Like what defines us isn't often what we'd like to be known for. Don't think you are all alone. So many others feel alone too. That's just part of our life. We all have to struggle sometimes. That's why the pine trees grow to bury our bones. Like what defines us isn't often what we'd like to be known for. Don't think you are all alone. So many others feel alone too. That's just part of our life. We all have to struggle sometimes.
Okay, so we're all good. We've listened. Anybody want to jump in with the initial reactions before I get into my mix notes?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I'm going to say that I honestly don't remember much of what I said about this song before, other than I love the background noises in the verses was the only note that I had in my first listen notes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this song's a done deal. I like the way it climbs through. I think the drum beat's awesome. Like it kind of carries me really well. You know,
Cool.
makes my body move a little bit.
Now, one of your notes, Brad, was that in that end section, you wanted the drums to drive through a little more, and you had mentioned like snare stuff, but there is so much snare work in that drum beat. that what I did was add more cymbal crashes. So the cymbal crashes just drive through that end now, and they weren't there before. And hopefully that helped carry you through that section.
Yeah, there was nothing lacking through that. I tend to notice the same things. I find out if I don't even remember what I said, I notice the same thing. I think you've solved that issue. And I like the dynamic of the vocal before it goes into the like cool solo part, and then it comes back. So I think it's good to go. Great
Cool.
job.
Yeah, I like how you cut back the choruses. I think it's a lot more in line with the beginning of the song. So it does escalate, but I think it escalates more appropriately. The drums are still great. I agree with Brad. The background noise are really good. The only part that still feels out of place, and I think I mentioned this before, the solo still doesn't sit well with me. It's too crunchy to my ear.
Mm-hmm.
Do you record effects live into there, or were those put in production?
I did record those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then. I redact my statement. They're great.
No, and I know that I like to throw the listener for a loop,
Mm-hmm.
especially with
I think
a
the
section
solo's
like
cool, by the way. I love
Mhm.
it as far as the note progression. It's just really crunchy to my ear.
And for the story of the song, that is the struggle. So I do want it to be gnarly, and I want it to sound like it's coming after you. And
Cool.
so I'm okay with that.
Then keep it.
Brad, you were going to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, listening to the song, like I would have been completely content if it ended after that first verse, but I'm pleasantly surprised when it comes back. And so
Yeah, I
kind of
love when
like,
it
I
comes
like
back.
that. I like that element of it because I honestly couldn't remember. I had two windows open and I was looking at the lyrics, and I was like, "Oh, does it end there?" And then I went back. It's like, "Oh, okay, there's a bunch left." And then I was like surprised again with it. I
You
guess.
mean after that solo part?
No, before it. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
could end after the last
Oh, got ya.
that chorus where
The big,
the big
we all have to struggle sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could just feel that ringing out and ending, but I like that it comes back.
We've all heard songs where it's like, oh, it needs to be done there, and it just keeps on going on, repeating. I'm looking at you, American woman. After verse 1, but this does give me the exact amount of the song
Looking
that
at
I
you,
want.
Don McLean. Also,
Yeah. It gives me, I think, just the perfect amount of tonal rises and falls. It tells the story in the right amount of time. It's a well edited machine, that's for sure.
yeah.
So I did do some editing when I went back into it, and after listening to the song, post comments from feedback from you guys, I really tried to pay attention to those choruses, and I did cut 4 guitar tracks out of them. Just 2 parts, but they were doubled, so it's 4 tracks total. But I cut those; they were just like a little too busy,
Yeah.
like you had mentioned. And I cut those out of the choruses and out of the end part. So those are just like completely gone. But I did do a cut and paste of the long, kind of distorted notes for the first chorus because I felt like it did need something to elevate that. And once I cut those other 4 tracks out, there was nothing. So I took a guitar track that was playing underneath the second chorus and brought it to the first chorus. But luckily, during the second chorus, there was also other elements that came, so it still did the build that it needed to do. So I think that did really help it. I also added some pad tracks to the chorus, and I know I say, well, I wanted to cut and make it smaller, but the pads don't really add anything distracting. I think they're just there to kind of support the whole thing.
Oh, I agree. I think the song builds in proportion now. Like everything seems to be proportionately great. And I think adding those pad tracks really does it because it builds without adding volume or
Mhm.
adding mess.
Melody.
It just gives like a bed for the track to lay
Yeah,
on during
yeah.
those parts.
It's like a nice mixed greens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was the expand, which we've talked about in previous episodes. I also did a few more effects in the beginning. That one that I particularly like is when I say the word light, like there was nothing, now there's light. I just took the tiniest little sample of that pad, a really bright part, and just had it come in for just a second, like a little light turning on or something. And I did a couple more edits with fades and things on those noises, background noises in the beginning, which was really fun to play with.
The ambient stuff is incredibly successful in this song.
Yeah, and then the cymbal crashes at the end in the mix. So that's that.
I think you wrapped her up really nice.
Cool.
I like how the song rises slowly.
Oh,
Nice.
oh, whoa.
Ooh.
Ooh, you're ready to write for Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
You guys want to go bus riding?
I'll go
Yeah,
on the
let's.
bus. Only if I can sit in the back.
It's cold out. I'd like to get on this bus.
All right.
Get in, losers. We're doing bus stuff.
So we're going to ride down the vocal bus here really quickly, only because I did something I don't normally do on the vocal, which is I'm using 3 separate compressors, and it's mainly because of that what I referred to as the Joe Cocker vocal last time. So on the vocal bus, my first plugin I'm using is the Apogee Effects Rack, which I've also mentioned in previous episodes, and I'm using an Opto 3A compressor and an EQ boost of about 5K there. That's a Pultec EQ emulation. And then after that, I'm using a Slate Digital VLA2A, another compressor to try to tame those things. And that's usually where I'll stop with 2 compressors, and then I might do some riding of the fader to kind of, even out the vocals. But that one part was still poking through and clipping the track and clipping my master. So I put another compressor with a very low threshold, used a DBX 160 with a 2-to-1 threshold, and that helped to tame that big part right where I wanted it. Then I also boosted 160 hertz with a Mag EQ4, just because I recorded this track through my Soundcraft board and it tends to be really bright. So I added a little more weight back into the vocal there and de-essed it and put a little reverb on it, and that's it. That's the vocal bus.
I like the vocal bus.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
de-essers. Did you use the TK421 on there to give it more quads?
Well, yeah, you don't get the bass without the TK421 modification. That de-esser, I think I've called it the Eloise de-esser in a previous episode, and that's not what it's called. I think Brad's got a song called Eloise, so that's why I called it. It's the Eosis de-esser.
Yeah.
So.
And I use the extra esser on Eloise.
Extra
Yeah,
S's.
it's just F's sound like S's.
We'd like to welcome the snakes to the studio.
I'm sure the listeners really appreciate that.
Super strong song.
I wonder why our numbers are going down on Apple.
Our numbers
Music.
are going up, Patrick.
Okay, so we think this is done, a
I
done
think
deal.
I think it's a done deal.
Yeah.
I think you did a great job.
Put in
on
an
that.
envelope, send it in the U.S. mail.
Yep.
Cool.
Maria.
Well, now what are we going to talk about?
Address it to my wife.
Tell her that I'm coming home. Going to start a new life.
BSers, they'll just do this like all day if I don't cut them off. So, thank you so much for listening. Let's work on getting out of this episode. We've been recording another podcast called What We're Listening To, and that is over on Patreon, so be sure to check that out. You can support Belonging Songs by visiting patreon.com, searching for us there, and you'll find us. And we're listening to new albums each episode, doing some fun stuff like getting some trivia from Patrick and talking about hot dogs and all that fun stuff. Patrick is the host of that show. There's a handful of episodes out and available if you were to subscribe as a Patreon supporter. Also, check out our Spotify playlist where you can listen to all these songs from Belonging Songs. You can also listen to them on our website where you can hear the before and after versions of each song. We are on Instagram, and we are also trying to figure out what to say next. This podcast is produced by Satellite Chicken Sound Lab. If you or anyone you know needs help producing a podcast, go to satellitechicken.com. Or if you are an artist and produce music and need someone to maybe mix your tracks, that is also a service that is provided there. Anything else you guys want to get in before we get out?
We guarantee one Brad Mauer jersey card per pack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay. Gold foil?
Yeah, gold foil for
card?
sure.
Okay. BSers, we have a merch page on our website now. Little store with product available. We've got t-shirts, stickers, art prints, Whyte Spydrz art prints, which are pretty awesome. Hand-carved linoleum legit art prints by a real artist, not like us.
Would look great above your mantle.
Yeah, so check that out. And
I fucking love Prince.
Yeah.
do you?
That was
Purple
perfect.
Rain?
Let's just
Purple
end it
Rain.
there.
That's it.
Flawless finish.
As always, flawlessly finished episode. Another
Showroom
one in
shine.
the books.
we get that showroom shine on every episode.
We're recording this revisit on Super Bowl Sunday, so I know we're all super excited for Super Bowl Sunday.
I rented 14 TVs,
Okay,
all with picture-in-picture.
nice.
And I guess
There's only one game on, though.
yeah, but
What are you going to put the other one on?
Uh-oh.
Last year's Super Bowl.
All right, there we go.
Puppy Bowl.
Yeah. Ooh, there's
Oh, there you go,
multiple
okay.
bowls today. That's
Mhm.
right. Got to be some kind of bra bowl out there somewhere. I don't know what the.
Where is the Bra Bowl played?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Order in the court.
I'm also known as the derailer. If you want to put that effect on my bus, go ahead and just.
That's another thing I enjoy about Patrick hosting what we're listening to over on Patreon is that I can just act as a derailer. So I don't have to keep that one on the rails. With that said, we are going to get out of here. BSers, we will see you here again next week.
Yeah, it's good. Boom, done. Next.